You are what you believe is true about you. You're what you believe is true about you. You know what's crazy about that statement in itself is that I think a lot of us, we at times struggle with that notion that we are the reason why our lives look the way they look, for good and for bad. You see, right now in my free group, we're going through this book here. And one of the things that he talks about in the first chapter here, which got me wondering and thinking and reflecting over my own life and where I am today based on where I was back in 2017, going through my divorce and all of that entire journey of recovering from divorce to where I am today. But so James Allen, he says this in the very first, on one of the first pages of this book, he says, "As a man thinks in his heart, so he is." Now, I could make a long video in terms of, going deep into a rabbit hole of the philosophy behind that. But the short or the lesson of it is that whatever you believe to be true about you is how you act, how you create your life, how you behave, how you show up, not just for yourself, for the people in your life. And if I look back at my marriage, one of the key components to what I would say was the missing piece of why this thing all, imploded, was the fact that I constantly showed up as a victim. Because my upbringing, right, I was brought up with in a family where my father and my mother divorced when I was about 7 years old. And so I had this notion, this belief in my head that I was not lovable, I was not worthy, that because I had done something wrong, that somehow magically my parents had split up. And so for, 30 plus years, I carried that belief in me that I was the reason that they, divorced, or I was not worthy, I was unlovable. And so what happened was I created this victim identity, this notion of entitlement that if I was not seen and heard, I had a specific reaction. So a lot of my internal dialogue for many, 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 many years, including in my marriage, was things like, I'm not good enough, I'm not handsome, I'm not lovable, I'm not worthy, I'm not smart enough. The smart enough was a huge one for me for a very, very long time. Those were kind of the biggest ones, I would say. And so every time we had an argument in my marriage, those were kind of the ones that I would retract back to. So I'd feel like a victim, right? So I'll give you an example. If I forgot to buy groceries, if I forgot to do something in the house, and she was pissed off at me forgetting that, and I felt guilty on that, right? So she triggered an old wound in terms of me not doing things, right? It was always by, can I keep you accountable? Are you accountable to your word, right? Like we men, we should be. When we say something, we should do it. And I was a fuck up with that. I would talk and talk and talk, and I would not take action. And as soon as she would call me out on that, which is one of the gifts of women, right? They call us out on a lot of our shit as men. I would retract back into my wounding, and I would just start shooting, like a machine gun of shooting back at her in terms of like my beliefs and my projections about not being good enough. And because of that, I started attacking her, right? So my belief of not being good enough ended up actually hurting her because I, somewhere inside of me, felt and believed that I was not good enough. So this book is an incredible book. There's so much wisdom in this book in terms of what it is that we perceive is true about ourselves, right? I talk a lot in my program about winning the daily war of your mind. If we don't win this, the day will be lost. There is a war that goes on every day. As soon as you wake up, your mind will try to convince you to go down two paths, right? You hear this notion about you can feed which type of wolf you want. You can feed the one that's going to drive you forward, or you can feed the one that's going to pull you back into a hole. So you have the notion every single day when you wake up in the morning, which of these two parts of myself am I willing to feed and give attention? And it seems that based on research that we do tend to have way more negative thoughts in our minds as humans. However, that doesn't mean that you cannot train yourself to move forward, even if you have that. I'm sure we all have fucking negative thoughts. If you know, people that say they're always positive, I think that's basically bullshit, because there's no way that you can be positive 24/7. So the goal for today, or my invitation for you today, is pay attention to where you have beliefs or thoughts that are pulling you down, that are pulling you into what I would call a hole or a pit or darkness, or whatever you can define it as, but somewhere where you all of a sudden you start believing something to be true about you that is negative, something that actually drives you forward, or I would even say drives you backward into a position of lack, scarcity, limitations, fear, doubt. Doubt is a huge part of this. Judgment, projections towards other people, versus the other side. So you could phrase it like this also, or test it in yourself. One feels really heavy, which is this, you know, the more negative side. And then you have the other side that feels more light for you. Those are the more positive thoughts. They're more, you could call them higher vibrational thoughts. And so today, this is what I want to leave you with. I just want to leave you with this thought of, you are what you believe to be. But that also means that if you're going through a hard time, that you can change that. There's always the potential and the possibility for you to change your life. It all comes down to shifting the way you think about yourself, shifting the way you behave every day, shifting the way that you show up for yourself and the people in your life every day. This is key. When we can shift this, then we can start moving forward. Why do you think that there is a manual, whatever you might call it, like I forget the name now. There's a path to success. Like, you can follow people that are successful. There is like I forgot the name now. But anyways, you can follow this trail of success in that. And essentially that is because success leaves clues, just like destruction leaves clues. And so if you can harness all of these things every day that will drive you towards success, then you have a more, you know, probability of reaching success in your life, depending on whatever that is. So just bear in mind that whatever you think about, you become. Whatever you dwell on is what becomes the reality of your life, right? So that's what I want to leave you with today. If you haven't read this book yet, As a Man Thinks, it is an absolute treasure of how you can change your life from where you are today. If it's a bad situation, or you just want more in life, right? A lot of us just want more in life. And it has a lot of steps and the explanation of why it is that we go through these things. So, oh, and by the way, for those of you who are still interested in this mastermind that I open up, the Legacy Builders, I'll drop the link below. There's still spots. I'm gonna run about 4 to 5 of these every single month with different men. So you're gonna be 10 guys in a group or less, and you're gonna have a Facebook group where you can interact. We'll do lives, we'll do videos, we'll do weekly Zoom calls. We'll go through these books. We'll work on mindset. We'll work on meditation, masculinity, money. What are your thoughts about money? Do you have scarcity about money? Do you have abundant thoughts about money? What is it, right? And then, even cooler, I will bring in specific people that will actually talk and teach about some of these things. Some of the people that have mentored me, and some of my really good friends that will talk about these things as well. So again, if that's of interest to you, I'll drop the link below. I will see you tomorrow. Have a blessed day.